you're gonna have some catching up to do.
Yep.
So with that, the board members should have received the draft minutes of April 24th, 2023. Is there any corrections or additions to those minutes?
I got a couple questions.
Shoot.
I noticed when we talked about Taneytown Auto Parts, the description in the in the minutes, I believe it's what we talked about, but it's different than what's in the agenda. Was that intentional?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else?
And then I guess the only other thing, we'll talk about Bollinger Park update eventually, right, in the meeting.
Yep.
That's all I got.
All right. Someone like to make a motion for approval?
Make a motion that we approve the minutes from April 24th, 2023 as they are.
Is there a second? Second by Bill. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. Carried unanimously. Thank you.
I get to vote tonight.
Yes, you do. First item on the agenda is the Fraser Property North requesting concept site plan approval. Darrell, would you lead us off with that?
Sure. So I put the sketch in your paperwork in case you didn't have it handy. So we had talked about the Hartman Street, send it up to mayor and city council. And pretty much by consensus, we're asking for this project, a right-of-way or easement from Hartman Street where it's stubbed off to the stub that's coming off of Antrim for Hartman Street going into the hardware store. So Mr. Lapp subsequently discussed it with Jim and I for a little bit, and we'll see how things go.
Okay.
So the town would get the right of way, is that what you're, is that what you said?
Yes. So we're get the right of way or easement, how we work that out. So when Hartman comes off of Antrim, it's going to come up and then right turn into his facility. I think that Hartman Street would be a good vent for that neighborhood down the road. It is a previously planned street, so it'd be ours if we want to do that. And now's the time to secure that easement.
But no intention to put it through at this time?
At this time, no.
Will we be able to?
Excuse me.
Okay, sorry.
It looks like they're coming off of Antrim where the street is supposed to be, and they're coming almost a third of the way through to get access to theirs. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
As part of, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Chris.
As part of this, will they be constructing their portion of Hartman to city standards?
Yes, oh, absolutely, yeah.
All right. Will there be an option at a later point if we change our minds before they finish their construction to tag construction of that, if the city was amenable to paying for that portion of the construction, to add that on to what they're doing?
I would imagine that'd be a discussion for them. That makes sense, and that may be something that the new mayor and the city council want to look at. We have a similar project going on over on Roberts Mill that we were able to use those numbers for the guesstimation of our part of Hartman Street. And it starts at about $280,000.
That would be the whole complete street from Antrim to
Ours.
Carnival?
No,
Or
just-
just our section?
Yes, sir.
Just our section.
Yeah, about.
If, let me state it this way. If we would want that street to go through, is there any concessions that the town would make? Like the impact fees, or maybe a tax break, or maybe spreading it out over a period of 10 years payment on it to get it completed? Did the city council talk anything about like that?
No, pretty much they decided that they did not want to build it now, but it makes sense to have our interests lined up in case we want to do this year from now or never.
Okay, well,
It'll never be as inexpensive as it would be to do it along with this project.
That's sure.
and to be consistent with our master plan, it should be completed at this time to be consistent with our master plan. So with that out in the open, is there anyone here from Caesar, the property, whatever?
I have some issues with that.
Mike, state your name and address.
Hi, my name is Rhonda Bordeaux. I live at 163 Carnival. I have a few problems with the Fraser property. One, the stream that comes into it. I have some
You mean
paperwork.
Caesar property?
Yes.
Okay.
I have some paperwork and there's some pages marked in there. I could go through them real quick with you. But one, there's a stream that runs through there. And by your Taneytown rules, it is supposed to be a 100-foot buffer. And that stream is now going to be removed, which can cause issues for the area, also with the flooding. I was also told when Mayor Wentz was in that Carnival would not be opened. A lot of the neighbors complained that we had issues with Carnival being open to Antrim, that we did not want the flow coming in there because we already have issues with the children almost getting hit. If you look at some of the things here in the marked off areas, it talks about, sorry, I don't have my page with me.
I don't think this is down here.
Oh, I think I gave you guys my notes. Sorry, I gave you my notes. It was on page 1.
Okay. Well, that's all right. I'm missing my page 2.
There you go. Yeah, this has all my notes on it. Sorry.
Okay.
Okay, page 1 talks about the stream buffer, and on page 2, it's the stream location on the Antrim property. There's a picture of it where it enters the Fraser property. If you look on page 3, it talks about protecting that stream and the buffer into Taneytown, that we should not be damaging any of the streams. On page 4, we're talking about preserving the stream also and the greenway. Talking on page 5, how we are supposed to be talking about a small town atmosphere of not adding more. On page 6, the protected forest areas, which is one of the biggest concerns, is that it says that we are very critically low in trees and that we should be preserving and taking property of where there are trees so that we don't tear them down, which is the most important thing on page 7. Also on page 7, it talks about limiting access to the roads that are blocked off. And on 10, there's other options to other projects that would be more sustainable for you guys if you could take a chance and just look through them. But our biggest problem is our privacy. If you look at the pictures, I gave you guys a bunch of pictures there. You're cutting down all these trees behind our house. They're destroying all the property. That's the woodlands, the creatures and everything that live there, the deer, the hawks, the eagles, the falcons. I mean, you're destroying a lot of property behind our house to allow this. And our privacy is being taken away. I don't want people gawking at my children in the swimming pool. It really is a big issue for Carnival Drive. And we really don't want it to interfere with our life. I mean, we built these, the houses were built there. Our privacy was kept there. And it's also supposed to be a water preserved area that was done, I think, in like 2009 or something, a water preservation area where the stormwaters go. So, I mean, if you guys build on that property and allow that property to be done, there's a lot of codes and things that you guys are going against in your own rules. So there's a real big concern before you guys go approve this. You really need to just take a look and go back and decide on how all them codes are going against what the town wants.
Is that the master plans up there?
No, I do not have the master.
No.
Because if you look at the comprehensive plan, and I know it's an
Yeah,
older
that's what it's from,
comprehensive
yeah.
plan, but if you look at it, it has a lot of the older dates that things were put into place to protect the woods and protect the, the right-of-ways onto the cutoff roads and things like that. So it really, really needs to be looked at before any permission is given for
Thank you.
that property.
Thank you.
But the whole thing is, we don't want it there. The whole Carnival Drive doesn't want it there. And also, you guys are supposed to be building a wall to the greenway. It's supposed to be some kind of buffer between us. It's actually in there in the comprehensive plan that there has to be a buffer between Antrim and Carnival Drive in them woods line, like a wall or something, some kind of buffer, it says, for the noise, the pollution, and all of that. And how are you gonna put a store there if a wall has to be built?
Yeah. We'll take that into consideration, and we'll review all this information.
Thank you.
Thank you. Darryl or Jim, any of you guys want to make any comments on what was just said? And to restate what we're here tonight to do, or make recommendations, is a request for a concept plan approval. So it's just concept, it's just the first step in a three-step process.
Yeah, so to allow the Feaser property to advance, getting concept approval, doesn't mean the project's gonna happen, doesn't mean it's gonna happen tomorrow. This could be years, don't know. But to keep the project viable and rolling, because there are time limits as to how long the prospective buyer can hold on to the property or not. And in fairness to them, we need to, in my opinion, grant the concept plan approval.
Okay. Jim, would you, any comments from you?
Just to follow up, I guess, a little bit on the process, the use is a by right use within the zone. The property is a challenging property. I mean, it's got wetlands, it's got a stream, it's got environmental features to both ends in a relatively small area that's eligible to be developed. The comments given are very accurate. There is a 100-foot stream buffer from the top of the stream. The engineer will need to recognize that. They'll delineate the stream boundary and measure off from that. I would imagine the concept probably acknowledges that. But at the preliminary plan stage, that's where the heavy lifting is done as far as all the stormwater management regulations, the forest conservation ordinance is applied there, and the forest land delineation is done. All those things that address the environmental aspects of the property are all done at the preliminary plan stage. So that would be the second phase of any development. So, certainly we need to adhere to the codes that apply. And that's part of the usual process.
So everything that was brought up will be going through by step through the concept plans and the preliminary plans. You talked about a wall, it'd be some type of buffer, it'd probably be trees or something planted for a buffer or something like that between the commercial and the residential section of Carnival. So, okay. Come to the mic, please.
This isn't exactly what I came here tonight to address, but I'm glad that she really brought some of this up. One of the things
State
that
your name and
Lisa
your address.
Crawford, 621 West Baltimore Street, lived here in town for a long time. These guys do a great job, but I really, and I've watched council meetings, I've showed up to them, I've showed up to this one. I'm really tired of hearing, the developers or these people, we can only hold on to it and they have rights. Well, what about the rights of the people that already invested in this town? They've already invested in this property. So it's fine to bring up about the contractors and, we don't owe them anything. Consideration, yes. To look it over, yes. But what about the people who have already put a lot of money into it? So I've heard the phrase several times when I've listened in and also been here, well, they put this much work into it, so we need to give them this. Or they can only hold on to it, so we can only give them that. What about those of us who have already invested and our children are here? You know, you start to leave that part out when the verbiage continues, and I've heard it to continue. And like I said, this isn't what I showed up for, but I continue to hear this on repeat for contractors and people who are buying land to come in, because it's looked at more profitable for the town. But what about the people who are here invested and willing even to do more? When you keep that verbiage going, it kind of diminishes us, that's all.
Thank you. Any comments from the commission?
Yeah, so the comments I had down, mainly were about, I was interested in what their thoughts were as far as the buffer between the residential area and so I know that's coming up in the preliminary plan. But
And most
in
likely the
addition,
trees.
yeah, in addition, I guess, I thought it was kind of interesting that they're only showing one entrance into the parking lot, and I didn't know if they were going to consider having two entrances into the parking lot or not. It seems to me like that would be a better flow of traffic for there, so those were the only two comments I had relative to the concept.
I think the entrance off of Antrim is kind of limited by what the state already approved. Am I correct on that?
Antrim Boulevard was designed with specific access points, and the city's been protecting those so that, you know, we don't end up, I suppose, creating kind of a Route 140 through Westminster situation where there's so many points of ingress, egress, that there are some safety concerns and some traffic snags.
Yep, understand.
That's also
Thank
in
you.
that comprehensive plan to limit that access to Carnival.
I think the whole section was roughly 14 acres, and only 5 of it is being used for,
Only 5 of it's buildable.
only 5 is built.
Yeah, so there's a lot, you know. So they can't do anything in the waterways, nothing. They won't even look at it. In fact, they should run, because it gets very expensive and normally rather impossible. They're gonna cut down no more trees than they have to because it costs money. The buffers, there are buffers in play that are also to protect you all, your privacy. It's not like you won't see the building there at night with the lighting, but the lighting's very strict here in town. We want the building to be the face lit, but not out.
We don't want the lights in our yard either.
Sure, there'd be no lights shining, you know, spotlights, that type of thing, out your way. I grew up in town, where the library, behind where the library is where I grew up. So your houses were my fields and where we rode mini bikes. So, but in any case, here you are, I'm glad you're here, but the town does change. But we're doing everything we can here. Our rules make the facility as user-friendly and citizen-friendly as possible.
Yeah, because I seen where he showed where he was gonna build it, and that was like almost right up against our fence line. I mean, like right up against, with a small portion, but it was pretty far back.
Would you like this? You can keep this. You're not even close to your fence. Okay, so just look at the scale on that, okay? And that can change a little bit. That's may not be what you see built, but
Yeah, because we're right here, so the building's like, I guess, and that's a street right behind it, right? So that they can go around it, on the outside of it, around it. It's like a road that goes around the building.
Looks like,
So
yeah.
that road goes right, I mean, pretty right behind our properties. I mean, you will see that it's,
Yeah, there's still property setbacks and stuff on
oh
it.
yeah. Mm.
I mean, it's still pretty close. I mean,
Well,
that's what, 6 feet from.
each one of those parking spots is roughly 9 feet by 20 feet. So just sort of use that when you're at home, when you're seeing how far. It's a pretty good distance away from you, man.
Okay, I think we understand, I think what you're asking. All right, at this point in time, I'll ask for, is there a motion?
Can I ask a couple of questions, ma'am, if you don't mind?
If it's to you, would you please come
Would
to
you
the
please come,
mic?
come to the microphone so that, if you're not at the microphone, the recording and
Okay.
the internet doesn't pick you up. So are you like the second house over from Hartman, like towards where? Is that, you right in there? Okay, third one, okay.
Yeah, so it's right here.
Yeah,
off
all right, I understand, and I appreciate your concerns, I really do. This is one of the toughest balances to strike in governance is to balance the needs of existing homeowners versus, businesses. You know, but the property owner has bought the property or is buying the property and has certain rights also. But he also has a responsibility to make sure that he's not impinging upon, his right to swing his arm and, your nose. So I think we can approve the concept without approving the final plan here, obviously, because we don't have any plans. But we can make sure that the plan would include appropriate buffers and appropriate lighting direction to keep the effects minimal to your property.
Okay.
Here through the concept. And the,
Yeah, through the plan approval process. So understand, if we're not if we approve the concept tonight, we're not trying to steamroll you. We want to take your things into consideration as this moves on towards a final plan.
But the last mayor said that we were not going to open that road to Carnival because Carnival has a lot of issues, which Mr. Jim knows about. He knows how much Carnival has problems and how the complaints and the children in the road and the police with the kids in the road. We don't want that road opened. We don't want it to go through because our children are going to be more at risk. We already have high-speed chases going down our road. I mean, we have issues, the police are there all the time, the kids play in the road because we're the only area in Taneytown that don't have parks for our children. We don't have no kind of activity there. And everyone knows that the kids play in the road and we do not want our children killed.
Oh, I understand.
We've had many children with broken arms and almost getting hit and knocked off their bikes as roads come through. We have people passing the buses on our road, almost hitting our children. It's ridiculous on Carnival Drive. And we've asked for speed bumps and things like that to be put in, but the city won't do that because they say the snow plows get messed up.
But there are other solutions to that, and we're going to be examining some of that. But, that's.
But if you
Those
guys,
down-
if you guys
down the line.
approve that and let that road go through, it's gonna be a big problem. You're putting our kids' lives at risk.
I would say that would be tabled for more study at this point in time. Right now, we're only discussing the concept of this plan.
Okay.
And,
do you have any other questions?
no, thank you very much.
Okay, go back to my original. We're looking for a motion, one way or the other.
I move that we approve the concept plan for the featured property north.
Is there a second?
I will second that.
Motion made by Bradley, seconded by Chris. Any further discussion? All those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise? Carried. Thank you. Like I say, this is only one of the steps. There'll be more. So. With that motion is already approved, and I've second thought on this. Do we need something in the minutes saying that we want to make sure we have the easement for that street for future, or something to cover what we talked about as far as the Hartman Street?
I don't think that specifically needs to be in the minutes. We can just ensure that as the preliminary plan goes forward, that that's called out when the plans are developed.
So 5, 10 years from now, when we talk about this, will you guys remember this?
Yep. Sure.
Okay. Next item on the agenda, and I say that because usually things, it doesn't happen overnight. So, is the VAPCO amended site plan for the office expansion. Darrell, would you give us some heads up on that? And then we can,
For some of you that may be newer on the commission, the amended site plan, third amended site plan, because VAPCO has done things before, this is the third amended site plan. So, and this is for the office expansion, and it's for concept presentation only. And is Jim here?
somebody here from VAPCO?
Okay. Yes. I'm here instead. Okay.
You okay to come to the mic?
Take your time.
Good evening. My name is Mike McCann. I'm here representing DDC, Development Design Consultants Incorporated out of Westminster, Maryland. And happy to walk you through the plan and/or answer questions that came from CDM Smith as well.
Okay. Of the question, we go from here. The expansion is right now is part of the parking lot.
That is correct, sir.
Where are you going to replace that parking lot at?
Well, right now, we already meet the code requirements for parking. However, practically speaking, we need more parking. We need to ensure that that we have adequate parking for the way the property is used today. Although we meet code, we have not yet performed a comprehensive parking study, but that is in process prior to our preliminary plan submission. The comments that I referenced that came from the third-party review, I believe were issued on the 10th of this month, so those efforts have just begun.
Okay.
But it's our intention to submit that with the preliminary plan.
So by meeting it now, are you counting like parking across the street or just on that same side of the street?
I'd have to check that. I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, tell us a little bit about the expansion. I mean, is it strictly just for administrative offices? I understand it's going to be 4 stories high.
That's correct.
I think our height is 35 feet, and if I looked at this correctly, you're over at,
So in industrial, it's 50 feet.
so they can go.
They're at 54 feet, so they're going to be applying for special
Exception.
special exception.
The height?
Yeah. mhm.
That is correct.
Okay. I had a little trouble trying to figure that drawing out, so. Just tell us a little bit more about the building. I mean, are you planning on expanding the whole operation, or you're planning on hiring another 100 people? I mean, tell us a little bit about
There
what.
will be some additional employees there. The exact amount is not yet known. This is the plan for, I'll say, midterm and longer-term expansion at the current property. One second, I apologize. Yes, I'm sorry. I was hoping I had an employee count, but I did not have that.
Okay.
Heard somebody in the back.
Probably help Mike out with some of the,
I appreciate that.
some of those details. Bill Jones with Evapco. So at this point in time, our 10-year plan is roughly 160 new administrative employees, so office employees. That does not include the growth that we anticipate on the production side.
Okay.
Currently, we have roughly 550 total employees at our current location. And this office expansion is well overdue for what our operations currently require.
Okay. Anyone have any? I guess this, I'll refer this either to Daryl or Jim. This is the third amended site plan. When can we ever finish the first one, the second one, so we can start over as number 1 again? I mean, why do we keep adding to the existing process?
Well,
That's-
Jim,
That's the,
Yeah.
I guess just the
This verbiage?
nomenclature that once a property has a site plan submitted, that's, you just keep count as it goes on. So it's just going to continue to run up with each subsequent revision is going to be the 4th, 5th, 6th over time. So the way the county tracks them, they don't start over.
Okay, but we still carry them as our construction phase projects, month after month, year after year. I mean,
we're cleaning that up.
Daryl's working on that.
Yeah, I'm working on that.
okay,
Have been.
all right, thank you. It just seems repetitive, month after month, year after year, the same, not necessarily the same people, but the project, the projects. All right, anyone have any comments? Any- Anyone from the floor have any comments for VAPCO?
I do have a question to the administrator. Do we have our water allocations, do we have that counted in our current water allocations for this expansion?
So we would add this to our water allocation resolution when they receive preliminary plan approval.
Okay.
Currently, we have 41,000, roughly 41,000 gallons per day that's unallocated. And we know we have the Garnet Ridge project that will account for 25 dwelling units worth of water, which should leave, plenty for the Evapco project. We will be needing to go to MDE to have conversations about increasing our well allocation permits before we can entertain any, substantial additional, like a residential subdivision of any magnitude, though.
Okay,
So
so
we're getting
Yeah.
pretty close.
This is not a project that would be held up by that at this point in time.
Unless the water demand is far beyond what we anticipate.
Yeah, it should be. I know in the past, we've had a number of projects which did require a substantial amount of water
Yes.
consumption. This is not. This is strictly, they were associated with our research and development labs. This is strictly would be office space.
This was also one of the comments that was in the recently provided comment letter. So we just began work on what that demand would be as well.
Any other comments? Well, as the city of Taneytown, we're pleased to have VAPCO part of us, especially as your headquarters. So, thank you.
Very glad to be here, so.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next item on the agenda, Recovery 180. And I think that's a couple things in here for that. Daryl, you? This is what, 162, 164? West Palmer Street?
So, CLSI has been working, so we have sort of two things here. Recovery 180 is a facility that helps people live their lives a different way. So what we've been looking at really is the outside, okay? So the parking, stormwater management, the alignment at Harney Road, or the ability, from Recovery 180 was very nice and just offering to help the city with the land needed for the possible or future realignment of 140. So they've been working very well with us, and not asking a lot of us so far. So the parking, we looked at it with the model of the hotel. In our code right now, that's the closest thing that we could come up with. The 6 units are going to stay on paper as 6 units. There's no construction, there's nothing to be added square footage here. Okay, that would require a whole new coming back and to us. So the 6 units having the 2 bedrooms each, nothing's changing there. How many people they have to live in there may be different. From the drawings I gave you, it showed the amount of beds, I believe is 43, Chris?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's the amount of patients they could have there. That's what they could handle square footage wise, and it'd be right by the county square footage wise per person in that type of housing, as I'm going to put it, housing. So we have no permits on the inside. There's nothing. I mean, I think plumbing is what they have to do. They have to sprinkler the system. They're going to be required to increase the size of the water line going into the building. That's all county. It's all county. Really, what we're worried about is the outside, the parking, stormwater management. That's all we have under review there. We asked for the drawings of the building so that you all would have that to look at again. And they presented it, I thought, last year, but in any case, we just got the same thing that we looked at before.
How does this fall in with the concept plan?
So, all right, so concept plan approval, in my mind, is what's happening on the outside.
And what do we have to show us what you're asking for here? Or you want us to give concept approval based on the information you're giving us now?
Well, so they're here, and they're gonna view these today too. But the drawing that was included shows the realignment, possible red line realignment of Harney and West Balmer Street.
That's part of this too, or is that separate?
That's just for us to get the, asking for the easement for that project. It's from the last time they were here, parking, stormwater management is all that, is what I'm worried about for this site plan, for this concept plan. Yeah,
Nothing on this plan that shows anything about any parking or where stormwater management would go.
Maybe we can have someone from, there we go.
oh, this is, okay, here you go.
LSI. The plan with the site plan was submitted 2 months ago, I guess
Yeah.
it was, which showed the parking and such, and I did bring a copy.
Yeah,
of
that was the last.
The biggest question, one of the questions at the last meeting was, how can we fix the intersection of Harney Road and 140? That's why we submitted this plan. Okay? Nothing has changed on the original concept plan. There's still the same amount of spaces and the infiltration berm for stormwater management. Nothing has changed from that. We just wanted to prove that, show how much property
That you had enough.
180 would have to give up with the right-of-way and such to be able to make the improvements work. And part of our site plan would show that this was being conveyed to the city. So you would have that area for the future when you need to, when the bigger projects comes in to pay for that.
This is the, so.
City
we're
attorney
asking
go-
for this is the very first step, the concept plan, right?
Well,
For this project. Seems to me we've voted on something just a year ago
So.
or months
you-
ago?
You looked at the property adjacent, that's going to be their counseling center, their treatment center. That's a separate parcel. They came in and requested a site plan waiver because they were not making any changes to the exterior of that property. So it was simply you switching it from a house to the treatment or counseling use, but no physical changes. So they were granted a site plan waiver so that project could go ahead and obtain their building permits, or whatever permits may have been necessary.
Okay.
This is a separate parcel. This is the residence portion of the project. Again, no physical changes to the exterior, but because of that challenge in finding something within our code that was a match for what the building code called for, the closest thing we came up with was the use as a hotel. That required additional parking to be developed. So that parking then triggers the need to do stormwater management, thus we're into a site development plan. So the concept was presented last month, and there were some questions, including, while this particular project is not going to generate the vehicular traffic to cause any changes at the intersection of Harney and West Baltimore, that intersection is a concern for a lot of folks. So the CLSI went back and looked at what could be dedicated to the city to alleviate that awkward angle of the intersection when it becomes necessary, say if the Sewell Farm develops. That's when we really are gonna need to do something about that intersection. But this doesn't cause any inadequacy or worsen the intersection, but they can deed that little corner over to us so then in the future, Harney Road can be realigned. And that kind of came up a little bit last month, so that's why Mr. Rickel worked up that exhibit.
So with the approval of the concept plan, that'll also give us the easement for
When,
that area.
as it goes through, that'll be incorporated into the preliminary and final plan, and then we'll be, we'll have either a deed of easement executed upon approval of the final plan when we get there.
Okay.
But this just sets it all in motion.
We did provide left and right turns to make sure and squared it up so it was easier for traffic and people coming out there. Plus, we provided area for sidewalks, so in the future, if they put a sidewalk
Yes.
there, it's covered.
Did you consult State Highway in terms of what you've?
Not yet,
To
but
see
this-
if they're,
This meets their standards.
as long as it meets standard, that's what I was.
It meets their standards. It's a 60-foot radiuses on the curves and such, so we met their
Okay.
requirements.
So what was the total parking that you're gonna put in now?
Was it 11?
Supposed to be 15, I thought,
I think
after.
it's 15 spaces.
15?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's 15 spaces.
Do you have,
and stormwater
can I see that? Because I apologize, I was not on. Yeah, I was not on committee last month, so I just got
We
elected.
put our access directly across as much as
Right,
we
we
could
could
from that
from-
road.
right.
Our parking right here, we're gonna tear out all the paving in this area, so
That'll be
people
grass,
can't park
right.
there, make it grass, sidewalk in, dumpster area, and our stormwater back here.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, with that, I'll entertain a motion for
Well, I do have, Yeah,
concept approval. We can get a motion on the floor.
I'll make a motion, we approve the concept.
Okay,
So Chairman, so Jim, after, I mean, as far as the parking and the stormwater management goes, what else are we looking for?
Have we had a pre-submittal meeting yet with the county? Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing that the usual drill of distribute it to everybody and let them tell us they don't have any
The
comments.
county was processing this as a grading-only plan,
Okay.
since there's no building
Okay.
structures.
Okay. All right. So,
I got a motion. Dan made a motion for concept approval. Bill, were you going to second? Second by Bill. Now we're open for discussion. Chris, you had a question?
yeah, I mean, I have some questions about the level of occupancy of this building. You know, you're talking about putting 43 people in 12 bedrooms. I have some real questions about this. And before that even starts, I do have also a question.
Dan did, I seconded.
I do also have a question as to, you know, from what I understand, this building was separated into apartments without any permits, and some time ago, maybe even, you know, Lord knows, it may even have been before permits were a thing for something like that. But my question is, do we have we ever collected any kind of EDUs for the amount of water usage that's going to be, you know, you're talking about 41, you know, 43 people, that's 10 families worth. You know, you know, are we looking at 10 EDUs? Are we looking at, have we examined that at all?
Oh, absolutely, sure. So like the Laurie model will be the closest thing for the amount of gallons per water per day. We're going to be later working on what the EDUs will be. There's certainly more than one, sure.
Yes, okay.
A lot of this will be handled through the county side.
Yeah,
Appreciate the question, because that brings up, when I went through here and looked at this, I counted 11 bids for one bathroom.
Yeah.
I mean, is that right? I mean, I know the county's going to pick this up, but that's,
Yeah, I mean, I have real concerns with trying to put 41 beds. You know, in some cases, these beds are jammed together in a corner. In a lot of cases, according to this sketch, you know, there's not even a foot between the beds. I mean, you can't even get, you know, I own a bed and breakfast, so I know about changing sheets, and you're not gonna squeeze in there to do that in 6 inches of space. You know, and I also occasionally employ some people who have come out of transition homes, and these are not the nicest people, and you're gonna put 4 or 5 of them in a room together. Personally, I think at this level of occupancy, you're asking for trouble.
As far as the bathrooms are concerned, to answer that question, there are plans in there to increase the bathroom sizes. So what was a 1 shower, 1 water closet will be expanded for multiple showers, multiple water closets. That'll all be part of the permit process once we go through this to get those all changed over and such. So we operate that as 6 people per 1 full, which would have 2 and 2. So to give you an idea of the use there for restrooms. As far as the beds, to your point, we always go by COMAR regulations and fire code to make sure. I know it's tough when you look it on there, when you walk it, it is not, they're not cramped together like that. There's ample space on the 2 bedrooms and the 4 bedrooms, but there are no bedrooms that should have more than 4, I believe. There might be one that's 5. That was a large area that we converted and has plenty of square footage so that they have dressers, nightstands. They're all required to have a personal space so that they can hang pictures, things like that. There's also common rooms for each of the subdivisions. So we've operated these in other places, and I can assure you that we're not trying to cram people in there. We want to make sure they have a nice place to live, and I can assure you from where they're coming from, this will definitely be a step up in the right direction for them.
Well, I would agree, it's a step up from prison, but I look at this and I think, you know, it just seems like it is very, very crowded to me.
Okay.
But I'm not sure that we have purview over this, but I'm asking that question.
Yeah, well, like I said, the county will address, through the county permits and stuff, they'll take care of most of that. Okay. Anyone from the floor have any comments?
I just got one more, Jim.
Pardon me? Go
Just
ahead,
one more
Chris.
quick question. So when we eventually straighten out the intersection there, what happens to what's asphalt now, you know, as you're coming out, the off on the left there?
Oh, that would be up to the state, this would be a state highway project to realign that.
Yeah.
So that would get
all
taken out.
That all gets taken out, so then it's gonna be grass?
Or it may be left in
Town-
because of
Town
the,
mows it, or who mows, I'm just curious.
Well, if it's state will handle it.
State mows it?
Yeah.
I was just curious.
Like the,
I figured
like
it
the
would
circle.
I figured it'd get taken out, I just didn't know what was gonna happen to it, that's all. And, so my other questions were the 43 beds to the bathrooms,
Yeah.
we talked about that, and again, that's not part of us, and,
Is there a requirement, and there again, this is county, square footage for an individual?
There is, yeah.
200
How many?
square feet.
200 square feet, okay. Just
Yeah.
curious. Okay. Any other comments? Okay, motion was, ma'am, you had a question, come to the floor.
This directly is close to my house, so 200 square feet is not that much, and as many people as be packed in there. Do you guys have your own security? Because like you mentioned, one of the councilman members mentioned, and I know that there's stuff sold at the park and things that go down at the park and need for additional policing already there. So do you guys also have your own security that will be there for as many people as you're hoping to pack in?
Sure, so it's not security. We have 24-hour staff, strictly enforce curfews, so they're not allowed off property.
How are they trained?
The who?
Their staff for as many people as you want?
So they're behavioral techs, they're trained in conflict de-escalation, they go through training programs, so, I mean, they are well-trained to handle that many people. And it's one for every 15, so if there are 43 people there, there would be 3 behavioral techs there to monitor traffic, make sure they're going where they're supposed to be in their groups, doing what they're supposed to.
would they be there on site all the time? Would there be 3 people there all the time?
That's correct, so it's 24-hour staff, even overnight,
Okay.
yes.
And you said you had other facilities.
We do.
Do you have statistics on them as far as issues that police have had needed to come?
We have one
And
that's been open for almost a year now. We've had no police reports there, no police activity there. Just that we don't take people out of jail. I know these aren't necessarily questions but I want to make sure everyone understands. We don't take
No, your answer, I was getting ready to ask you this question, sir, so go ahead.
Screening process, so no sex offenders, no violent criminals. So all those types of things, these aren't people that are coming from prison. These are people coming from, they've already done a 28 to 60-day program, so they've already detoxed. These are people now that are reintegrating into society, so we're helping them build a resume, go back to school, volunteer, things like that. So this is not like a release program or something like that.
okay, considering the amount when you mentioned the beds, and also I've been trying to follow some of this, there's of course reason for some concern.
All right, thank you. Okay, we've got a motion on the floor, second. Of approval of the concept plan. All those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, likewise, unanimous. Thank you. Thank you, folks. I think I had more space than when I was in the service.
Yeah.
All right. Taneytown Auto Parts, 11 Franklin Street. General Business District requesting site plan waiver for demolition of 2 buildings, rebuild and enlarge an existing building. Start us off on that. Yes.
So the site plan is triggered by a couple ways here. One, a new building. It is exciting to see Pat tearing down some of the buildings that need a little bit more than the paint job. And Pat has asked for, upon reflection, a site plan waiver because of the lack of disturbed area. And the fact that he's reusing the one building, there will be one new building in place of what was a building there before. You're totally cement now, Pat?
It's that.
So Pat's got more numbers than he had last time as far as square footage of what was there and what would be there when we're completed. And, go ahead, Pat.
Okay. So my plan is to tear down the wooden structures, excuse me, which I believe the picture I just gave you today, which is, yeah, no, it's this one.
Let me see.
All the ones without new siding on.
Okay.
Basically, yeah, remove the three structures that are marked on the paper and replace that all with one building. The total square footage of that building will be 3,472 square feet. What I'm tearing down is actually 3,220 square feet. But in order to just coincide to make it work, and just added about that many more square feet to it. So that's them three buildings, the ones I'm tearing down. There's concrete there, we moved back right on that concrete. And it's actually even concrete where there's not the other structure.
Pat, sorry, how much bigger is the new building gonna be? Sorry.
I gotta do my numbers. So it's like 200 square feet maybe roughly.
252?
We go 3,472 minus 200, so it's less than 200 square feet, roughly.
Yeah, ballpark, that's what I was
Yeah,
thinking.
yeah. So with that, and then also the structure that is not X in that building is the one I'm going to take and redo the roof line and raise it to coincide with the whole building and make it all one complete, to go together. The building will be tan, the roof will be tan, it will be metal structure. You have the pictures of the proposed design with some garage doors on it and stuff like that. Let me see if there's anything else I wanted to tell you.
Pat, the one question I have.
Yep.
So those three buildings are going to be taken down, and then the new building's going to be the same spot, except for 200 square feet.
Correct.
Connected again to this building.
To the back side of it.
Backside.
Yeah.
All right. Just want to try to picture.
Yeah, no, yeah. It's actually because of if you look at the way the one building sets, it kind of is going to change it so they're all together and not have that extra offset, but
So they're all under one roof.
they'll all be the same continuous roof, but there's actually it'll be two buildings, still be two buildings, but yes. Because existing structures block, and that'll still be there.
Pat, do you have this
I'm sorry.
in front of you?
I do.
Okay. The browner building, or the dark black building,
Wait a
is that coming down too?
What one?
Can I come up there?
It's on the third page.
This part here is,
This one here?
Yeah, is that coming down also?
That's actually this building here.
That's
These
that
are
big.
kind of together.
Okay.
anyway. Yes, it's this one.
Okay, I just want to, since it looked like the space between the two. Okay,
They're together, it's just the way they're all set and just the all.
okay, gotcha.
what are your plans for the other adjacent buildings that are there?
With the other buildings that I already have there, I already re-sided the one building.
Okay.
With the money that the town has generously offered. But also, I didn't do the inside of that building, on that inside wall, which I plan to finish that with this project, and also finish the outside to make it all tin and make it all look the same.
All look the same.
Yes.
Do you have a plat showing your property lines and location, actual building locations because I'm sure you'd have to send this in to
We
the county
had
for.
that probably
permit.
in the first meeting.
Okay.
I
It's hard for
don't
me to,
I think we do that.
have that here now.
yeah, I don't have that, but.
I'm sorry.
It's kind of hard for me to,
You can't
I
save
can
them all.
show you a
can't save them
picture.
yeah.
Can I show you a picture? I can show you a picture on my phone.
I don't know if that helps any.
Yeah, I mean, I know how it lays, but,
What is the question? I'm sorry.
would want to see some kind of plan that says that, this building's going out and this building's coming in at this spot. We're kind of approving something rather nebulous that's,
Guess what we want to see is a site plan.
yeah, and not a full-blown
lot,
site plan.
the
And
lot.
I don't want, because I've been in
wanna
your
see the
position and I
lot.
understand. But I
Who's on
think
the
we
right
need a little
side,
bit
who's on the
more-
left side, who's behind you? Situation like that.
I'm not, okay, I'm kind of ignorant to it, because I'm not sure what you mean, okay? So help me out. So you want to know who's,
Yeah, well, a regular site plan, a drawing of your, of the lot, the property itself. I mean, who's on one side, who's on the other side? I mean, you got the street on 3 sides.
You got the.
yes.
But, so, I don't know if this will help, Pat, I got it out and read it myself. So in order for us to grant a waiver for the site, the planning commission is supposed to consider the following things. So we're supposed to consider like drainage, are you putting in more buildings, more blacktop, whatever. Effects on the traffic, relationships to the other buildings, what's the new landscaping gonna look like? What's the buffering gonna be like to the neighboring? So a lot of those things aren't changing really for what you're doing.
Nothing's changing,
Um,
except actually
so-
it's going to be better because it's going to have
Yeah.
rain gutters
So-
and all that
Yeah,
too.
so a couple would be, so for me, what I wrote down is I just wanted you to kind of talk a little bit about the drainage, and also what changes you're gonna have to the lighting, are you gonna have more lights now that, or stuff like that?
If I could-
Maybe that's good, maybe that's bad. And then, what other facilities are you may you upgrade? Are you gonna put a bunch of bathrooms in or not put bathrooms in?
No,
So
no.
those are the kind of things that the commission has to kind of weigh in on before they grant a site waiver, that's all.
Well, we'll put some regular outside dusk to dawn lights
Mm-hmm.
around the 3 sides. The drainage is going to be better actually because there are no rain spouts on that building.
Mm-hmm.
So I will have
For years.
never been. So there will be downspouts and everything like that on there.
I guess what I'm asking for is, in order to get your building permit from the county, won't you have to submit a plat plan showing where you're, showing the building location?
My contractor's handling that. I don't know.
He will.
I would.
I'm not.
He will, that's part of county.
I know the answer to the question, that's.
Well, then it's no use to ask the
All
question.
he asked me to do is to get the permit through the town. Once I get the permit from the town, he will submit that to whatever he needs with the county.
Yeah, that's good-
And he's
that'd be
worked
part of
with
the building
Taneytown
permit.
before. He's done buildings here for like the Hitchman
Yeah.
and someone else. I don't know who else.
That'd be
but-
part of the building permit issues.
Well, I understand that, but I think that as part of this process, we ought to have that information.
So he stated that it's gonna be on the same foundations and everything like that.
Right, so it's,
But
So he's
you're
not-
you're
I
saying.
don't think that should hold up
see
the
that in writing.
decision we're here for tonight. But my
It's not
question
changing
is,
anything footprint-wise.
we're same footprint basically, so, but what are you gonna use the buildings for?
The same thing. It just sublease it out for storage. That's all it is.
Okay, and is that permitted?
Well, I don't, put it this way, it's been done that way for a long time. I mean, you've had yeah, I know, well, I mean.
Then we go
hey,
back to Leonardo Seafood.
Yeah.
Or
Doherty's Ice,
East Dougherty Seafood.
Cannon Factory?
The tire shop was on the corner. I mean, it's just,
But anyway, I'm asking, is it permitted, or does he have to do special exceptions to allow this, or what?
So this is general business. So warehousing would typically be an industrial. It's a big site. There's different uses on there. There's the auto parts store. Is the warehousing an accessory use? It's been ongoing, and our code was amended several years ago to allow certain industrial uses to happen in the general business district, but that one specifies within existing buildings. So that's how Johnson Plumbing came to be on Broad Street. That's not a use that would typically be in the general business district. Same thing with Turnball Plumbing on York Street. Both of those are, more service businesses, more something that would typically be in an industrial zone rather than general business, because they have like a combination of, office and warehousing and, material handling, things like that, trucks going in and out.
Aren't we considering a self-storage down there by Turnball's Plumbing?
And that's
Is that-
industrial.
And that's industrial, okay,
Yes,
okay.
right. And
that's
I'm
a
sorry,
permitted use.
Turnball's actually is industrial. It's the Johnson Plumbing is the one that's in general business. So I misspoke about Turnball's. So it's a little bit of an oddity here because, there are existing buildings that have been used for storage. Mr. Small is going to retain a portion of one of them, But then we've got the question of, the use, does that use continue on in a new building? It's just a unique site that we're faced with. And I guess while I'm droning on here, I'll just mention on the zoning certificate application, Daryl's going to need to know the setbacks, the distances from the various property lines. So at some point, we'll need to know where the property boundaries are. So that should come out, when a zoning application is submitted, because, we need to know that it's X feet from this property line, X feet from that property line, and so on. So that's something that I guess Mr. Small's contractor will have to come up with at that point.
So for that area, you notice that the senior center's right beside it. And oddly enough, when I guess the county built that, Jim, do you know? Because it is a county building, but their setbacks are unique and different, just like they must have modeled off your dad's company, dad's business. So, yeah, it looks the same across the street in the county building.
All right. I don't know if I'm satisfied with the answer, but I'll take it.
It's, right, I mean, it's essentially, that's the existing use that's out there.
Kind of like a grandfather. Okay.
I mean, that existing use predates the zoning code and that, I mean, just because we were doing the wrong thing doesn't mean we should keep doing the wrong thing.
Yeah.
But, by the same token, if it's been an allowed use, that's, yeah, that's
General
tough.
business, yeah, so.
Yeah, I mean, because it's right, it's not a general business use.
Right.
But it's been used this way for how many years? I don't know, Pat. And I'm not trying to work against you, Pat, I understand.
We've been in that place since 72 possibly. And it's been a business it's been a business since what, the 40s?
Yeah.
And it was storage. It was storage. I mean, the cannery factory, the building we're actually in was a storage facility. That's what it was. It stored canned goods.
Okay.
Nothing's changed.
The purpose of that code revision a few years ago that allowed those industrial uses was to allow some productive use of buildings that were located, that were in existence before the current zoning code. The sewing factory on Broad Street is the perfect example. It's an industrial building, but it's in the general business district now. It was a sewing factory for, however many years, and then more recently it was a pick and pack with EMS books and teas, warehousing, distribution, and, so the code sort of caught up to try to address some of those buildings so that people, could put them to good use. So we amended the code to allow those sort of industrial uses within general business district. So, so generally, the use is good. It's just the question of,
I mean, I understand that the use predates
existing.
the code, and
Right.
my concern is that if we codify that, the next person who comes along and wants to do storage in general business, oh, well, you're letting this guy do it. So, where do we stand on not opening ourselves up to more uses that we don't want?
So the question, I guess, really code-wise hinges on, is what's staying of the building enough to call it an existing building? Or, are we talking about a completely new building, in which case it really should conform to the general business use?
All right, I'm going to ask for a motion. And there again, the request is a site plan waiver to demolish 2 buildings and rebuild and enlarge an existing building. So I'm looking for a motion on that.
I move to approve the motion to the site plan waiver at 230 Roberts Mill Road.
Is there a second to that? Okay, Brad made it, Bill seconded. Further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you. Chris, I didn't hear, what was your?
I abstained.
Okay. All right. Ordinance and agreement review. Darrell, your report.
Okay. Whole lot of stuff going on, whole lot of stuff. Anderson Boulevard's on fire. We met with what's called Rare and Eyes, it's a distillery. Jim and I met on April the 27th. Bollinger Park, I almost was able to move that from its lowly active site plan to construction phase projects. We're waiting for one piece of paper, it's a grading permit. Chairman signed the Mylar and paper copy last week, one day, so.
Question on that one, Bollinger Park, what changed? Anything? Bollinger Park?
From our last meeting?
From our last meeting, wasn't anything changed other than what was clarified was the entranceway where it was located. It was just being clarified.
Yeah.
So there's no change from what we talked about last month.
Yeah, so the 445-foot, Dan, site distance from left and right, going in or out of the park, that was already worked out with the county without a waiver, okay, or a variance rather. So they were able to do that, and why that took 3 months, I'll never know. And, you know, because there's hundreds of thousands of dollars in grant money that Lorraine's had to file for extension, I think, twice. But in any case, so the grading permit is the only thing we're waiting for, and Hobbs is ready to roll.
I don't suppose we made the neighbors any happier then, huh?
Well, I mean, some people you just can't please. And I'm not saying those two sets of people are not, but somebody took one of our shiny brand-new steaks and brought it into City Hall to show us how happy he was with that. That's illegal in at least 4 languages, so hopefully he won't do that again. But, you know, we met with them, we gave them a fence. So we gave them a fence in their woods and then more trees. And that's where that's where I sort of lose focus on things. The, you know, that park, in the one neighbor's instance, that park was a thing many, many years before they built their house. The Rubies, fair enough, they bought their house before Bollinger Park was a thing, as far as I understand, by a short little bit. So I can understand that. I mean, you know, we thought about 5 acres in the county or downtown Taneytown. So, and I get the differences and changes that it brings, it does. But it's low impact, it'd be it's an ADA park. And, you know, the county and the state is spending a lot of money on trying to connect these bikeways and walkways. And so it's exciting. I'm not a biker, I'm not a walker too much. I ride my bike, but anyway, so it's nearly complete, the paper process.
Progress was made, I'll put it that way.
Okay, Bellisimo's, they have a shiny brand new permit that they're now ready to make some pizzas. Not yet, but it won't be long, knowing Mr. DeFada. So that's something we've gone through. That was first time I've gone through a simplified site plan process, and it wasn't that bad. Wasn't that bad. Let's see. You notice on my planning report, I have been, but I think this works out pretty well because I get asked this from time to time at the county. What phase or what's been approved? Storage today, I was asked by one of the people down at Development Review, what phase are they in? Because their plans, the first time we saw them, said final. So we're catching those things. I'm asking the developers, if you submit a new drawing to us, I don't care if you change just the hydrants 5 feet that way, and they change on the plan, I want a different date on the plans. You know, it'll help us, down the road, especially if you got stuff. I save my planning commission stuff at home. I'm like, is it this one or is it this one? Yeah, because they look a lot alike sometimes. And let's see. Oh, yeah, so a couple things. Chairman Parker, you talked to me about. So the feeser that's on, I'm sorry, not feeser in the mine, the Evapco that's under construction phase project, was actually the previous two. So we just had to, well, I say we, me, and Jim be involved, sure. We have to go back and make sure all the as-bills are here, that all the little small, not small things, very important things. Stormwater management's been squared away and signed over, public works agreements. And once that's done, we'll return their, whatever monies that are left in escrow. And once they send us a letter saying that they want their money. Sometimes these companies forget. Sheets is one of them, okay? You know, the gentleman I've been dealing with says, yes, I know, my boss knows about it too. So, so I'm not sure what to do there, but we'll work on it and get some of these people off of here. Y'all been out to Duffy lately? Looks like something's happening.
Putting some metal in, aren't they?
Yep. So I'm gonna ask Thane for a visit, because the main purpose of that large building is one machine. Yeah, eliminates 2 jobs, but that's a nice company. He's gonna keep those 2 jobs. So, other than that, sir, I have nothing else unless you have questions for me.
Any questions? Dan?
I got a question on the Garnet Ridge. So you sent us the plans to look at, right? So we got that. And so it didn't appear like there were any changes to like the road width or the single entrance into the development there. And, you know, we talked about that when they were in here the last time. I mean, they're doing a lot of work without really addressing any of our concerns.
So the prints are not what we normally see from a concept. You know, I mean, they're I guess because the plan's been around so long that they've really, you know, fleshed this out. I had asked them, Marty, I asked him, you know, last month, you want to present. He says, no, let it go through the process a little bit more. And I have a feeling that hopefully next month, they're in here presenting, you know.
So I'm sorry, I missed last month. So did we ask them for a second entrance point for the development or no?
I don't know.
We weren't at a point to be asked, and we just gave comments.
That was it.
It was a comment, question and answer point.
So
We granted them a concept plan, right? Well, I guess that was in.
yeah,
That wasn't last month, that was
Right, so they have a concept plan that's
go
approved.
way,
So we haven't seen their preliminary plan.
right.
no, not at all.
They
So,
showed us the presentation and we had comments.
so on my report, the concept plan was granted on July 25th, 2022.
Okay.
So, I don't know if it's a rule, but really at 50 houses or less, one entrance has been allowed before. I know that Jim had reserves with that, Dan, this gentleman over here, you know, I get you. So we'll wait to see what's on I mean, I don't see how they could easily get a different way out of there without killing that commercial property, but, you know.
Well, and then the whole thing is coming down to Sewell's property. If that's going to be part of the easement going through Sewell's property or the second means out of this property, then is that going to be part of the greenway? Or is that going to be a connecting street back to Harney Road? So, and I think we talked about that 6 months ago or maybe more. So we're waiting to hear more, I guess, from Sewell's, from the city council, and these people.
Well, what is pleasing is that everyone who's looked at a property, whether it be Garnet or Mountain, or the commercial properties off of Allendale, everyone's willing to play. In fact, the property on Allendale, we're at 90s, they literally where the buildings are to accommodate for one of the possible routes for the. So that's good. That's great. So everyone's playing so far.
So if we connect that to the Sewell's property, that would be 2 ways out.
Right.
You have two
what we
means
said
of
when we
egress
saw
and
it.
egress.
So the Souls property that's gonna happen when?
When, that's right.
Oh, okay.
Same time this is gonna happen, when. I mean, just because we're talking about it doesn't mean it's gonna happen this year or next year. But it needs to make sure that it's consistent with with everything else that's coming here. So, and the other thing was, if they're gonna have a private road, and Sewell's property will not be a private, or should I say, the Greenway, it's an issue for the city to work out.
Right.
So, if that helps to answer.
Well,
I mean, we don't know a lot until
Yeah, I also
they
have-
come before us.
When they presented it the first time, they had a 24-foot street and they had parking on one side. And then I think they came another time, they said, we're not gonna have parking on one side. So I actually have a problem with that then because, you know, so what do you need? 3 parking spots per residence, right? And 2 of them are in the garage or something like, whatever.
Yeah.
So now when people come over, I can't even have guests over because they can't park in front of my house. I mean, I don't understand why we have streets that are any narrower than what's in front of my house. It just makes no sense. I don't think it should be approved. That's all.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the wider streets as well. You know, it's funny, you know, like Meads, they came in, possible alleys, you know, back in '09 or whatever. And somehow it gets forgotten. 'Cause I mean, I think back at how Meads came in, it was Jim 9 and 12. And there's employees changed, the developer may change. You know, oh, shoot, someone scrutinized the road widths because the alleys aren't there now. So, Jim's teachings with me, that's not gonna happen as easily, with the builders. I've thought for a long time, we don't need any new houses unnecessarily, but, I'm tickled that people wanna be here. Taneytown's hot right now, it really is. There's a lot of, activity on the commercial, the infill lots. You know, the Danner property there with the billboard, on East Baltimore Street by Trevanian. It's just, you know, it's a lot. Well, maybe it's not a minor subdivision. I think it's maybe a lot line, but anyway, just developing and building another lot. A lot at the corner of, Baumgartner and Tawny. There's so many people looking at that, it's probably gonna be a bidding war.
Okay, let's keep moving on. If nothing else for the zone administrator, we'll move on to Jay, see what Jay has for us. Jim, you
Jay
want to see
doesn't
what?
have a specific report tonight. He's just hanging here in case we have questions.
So did he have anything?
He did not.
Okay, we'll move on to the county. Tiffany?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hi there. All right, from the county, the triennial update to the 2019 Carroll County Water and Sewer Master Plan was certified that it was, by the Planning and Zoning Commission, that it was consistent with the 2014 Carroll County Master Plan, the 2019 Amendment, and the 2018 Freedom Community Comprehensive Plan. That is available online on our website. The Transportation Master Plan will be reviewed in its entirety by the Planning and Zoning Commission this summer. And for the most up-to-date information, you can find that on our website. The annual report has been completed, except that it does need to be presented to the Planning and Zoning Commission. It has been distributed to staff for review and comment. We have not received anything, and then we'll have that we'll transmit that to the Department of Planning, the Maryland Department of Planning, by July 1st. And then for the Economic Development Study and Land Use Study, there were public workshops that were held. There were 3, and they were in April and May, and one was included in Taneytown at the Thunderhead Bowl and Grill. And the workshops provided participants the opportunity to use play money to decide in which industries they would like Carroll County to invest moving forward. And participants also indicated at what extent should the county prioritize business development and relocations. So they're trying to have a little fun with it as well. So now the public outreach is completed, and it's moved to the report phase. So the people who are doing the study, the organizations doing the study will get the report together, and that will be forthcoming.
Any idea when?
Not at this time, not at this time.
Okay. Any questions?
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Tiffany.
Old business.
Mr. Chairman, may I make one, I want to clear up something. When Mr. Small talked about monies that the city gave him, he's talking about monies that Economic Development Director Mishi applied for. And we're calling it the Building Improvement Plan, or it's called the Building Improvement Plan. So it's not money actually from Taneytown, but monies that were funneled to Taneytown, distributed by way of a little panel. All right, so just appreciate that. Sure.
Okay. New business? Okay. Jim, you have anything? Daryl?
I do not, sir.
Brad? Okay, looks like if it suits everyone, June the 26th, next meeting. All right, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
Move the motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay. Get that, Daryl?
Yes,
Second.
thank you.
Okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, folks, and thanks to folks that showed up tonight out there.